This is our 2020 Jilin summer visit home. Jason has done this before a few months ago, but it's Lynn and I and Julian's first time to take the straight bus all the way up to Jilin. We departed around 8:50 in the morning and arrived at 5:30 p.m. It's almost 9 hours, just in time for dinner. It was his grandpa's first time to see him. Lynn's relatives live next door, so her cousin came over right away too. Then we went over to their backyard and looked around. They have a field of peanuts and corn and other things, not to mention all the lambs and the sheep that they take care of. Before dusk, Jason played a little bit outside with his construction vehicles. And in their parents' backyard, the geese ran around, and he fed the dogs some water or slop or something. Then they gave Julian a bath in the little tub in the living room. And now we're already at the second day. We flew kites out in the field, out in the pastures. So this is really cool. There's my 4-string quad line kite.
You look like a giant.
Yeah, the sun halo was really cool. And then after that, we looked at the alfalfa. I'm losing track of time, but I think this is the lunch of the next day. Jason played out with his construction vehicles, dump trucks and excavators and fire trucks. But he kept an eye on the geese. He also gave lots of attention to Julian. Now this was unexpected. We saw an owl on our way out to the wetlands. To keep Jason dry, well, just watch what happens. Go! Let's go! Careful. These wind conditions were perfect for flying kites, but sorry about the noise here. There are lots of frogs and tadpoles and fish. So I'm going to cut to another scene here where we go a little bit farther north. Did you see any fish? What's that? What's in here? Frogs? Oh, little fish too. Oh, there's the frogs.
Let's go.
I see the frogs jumping in there. Oh my. Whoa.
Bucket.
Oh, bucket. I think it was Jason's first time to see the frogs like this.
Just wait.这是在玩老师也是。
真好看呀！
were lots of frog eggs waiting to become tadpoles. There are all kinds of other insects out there too. So Jason is going to take a closer look into the bucket we collected.
放哪里呀？看看放水里呀！我要看看，我要看看，我要放水里。
Those are tadpoles. I don't see any fish.
你看有个小，
There's a fish. Wow.
还有个eel，
We had those for dinner yesterday,
还有
huh?
个 eel。
There's a bigger one.
哇！
Wow. You scared of that fish?
Afraid there was a kind of guy there. That's the city boy.
City boy, huh? Meanwhile, Grandma went out to pick mushrooms. I saw a moth on the window. And then it was getting late. I don't think I have dinner pictures for this evening. Anyway, I stayed out really late and set up my new little telescope camera setup. And right over the house, there's Jupiter, Saturn, and the galaxy here. I got another picture with my camera. And then with my new setup, I took a picture like this with the Dumbbell Nebula. And to zoom in, it's like this. It's only 1 minute of exposure, but good first test. The next morning, we went out and helped trim out the field. So we picked out parts where there were 2 sunflowers in the same area. Okay, so we're going to leave Jason with Grandpa. Jason tried to help. He saw 2. So he picked one up, picked it out, said, oh, this is the bigger one. So he put it back in. He picked the smaller one out, right? You're supposed to leave the biggest, strongest one out in the cluster. And when he saw the long root, he thought, oh, that's the bigger one. So he put it back in. Out of these 2, you can tell I pulled out the one with the caterpillar. So these sunflower seeds were just sprouting, and we found some other things like insect larvae. After doing a little work on the farm, we came back home and had a group of visitors, some more relatives. This one's in high school now, and I gave him a chance to take some pictures of some telescopic shots and macro shots, and I took some of my own at the time to show him some of the plants in the house. But mostly the cousins just looked at online video games. And Jason had some dirt in the house because it was too hot outside and there were too many mosquitoes. It was so hot outside that the car is parked under the tree. Nice shade, by the way. And our relatives helped make dinner. So this is one of the ants here. I guess I should say lunch. But whatever's left over becomes dinner.
Go, go, go. Good.
So Lynn's cousin is on his tractor, and we paid him a little visit, and he was getting ready to cut the alfalfa. He did that the next day. His dad, Lynn's uncle, takes care of the sheep. So he is a shepherd, and I went out in the fields with them in the afternoon. Oh man, to do this every day, I just can't imagine. Don't block them. They're all gonna wait here. They're waiting patiently. Oh jeez, really got them to go. Okay, so it's a few minutes walk down the road, and then there are no trees, and it's just wide open grassland. But there are ponds, and Lynn told me there were horseshoe crabs, but they're actually tadpole shrimp. I found what you're looking for. These little guys that swim upside down. They're everywhere here. How come we didn't see any of these guys the last 6 years? Never came here in June, I guess. There they are swimming everywhere. And here come the sheep. I'm not sure how much of an area they actually have to let the sheep out, but I know that different shepherds have, fights or arguments about where they're allowed to go. So these are crustaceans called tadpole shrimp. I'm pretty sure. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, these guys are everywhere. Wow. Never seen them before. So her uncle's neighbors, who are also shepherds, would often congregate together and wait as the sheep would go out and eat. Lynn told me this guy's daughter is very beautiful. Anyway, day or night, at this time of the year, lots of mosquitoes. And by sunset, I think these are some of my favorite pictures that I took during our stay. So this is Lynn's aunt, and she's feeding the chickens and ducks. And I think this is day 3 now. There is a hedgehog. Remember, they're on the menu in China. Here's the alfalfa field. So I set up a little photography session here. There's Jason running in the forest. So Lynn's cousin's girlfriend is pregnant, and so we got them some pictures. This baby's going to be born really soon, so if you're seeing this video, the baby's probably already born. Yeah, alfalfa and butterflies. That's a good combo. So do you recognize this flower? I hadn't seen it before. This is a peanut flower. Anyway, we had lunch here on day 3. And we're still at Lynn's uncle's, or her cousin still lives there, but there's little Julian. We visited with them for a while. And it was hot out that day, so Jason took a nap on the, what do you call this here? 3-wheel cart. And Jason got to try a boomerang, but yeah, I'm still out of practice with that. But thankfully I got to practice flying my quad stream kite a second time. When we got back, they were selling some sheep. The guy who was driving the truck got really excited to see a foreigner, so he asked Lynn's aunt to take a picture with me. One of my favorite things is taking pictures of donkeys. Alright, so we did some shopping. We got Jason a bike, and we went to the dentist. I'm going to have to show Jake what the prices are. I'll translate this later. Jason decided to mock me with wearing my glasses. got back home, Jason got to try out the new bike. All right, I'm not caught up, but I think this is day 4 now. This is another giant restaurant dinner. These are pupas. I think from what, moths or butterflies? Anyway, they're a delicacy. Jason's favorite dish. So Lynn's classmate is one of the chefs at this restaurant. Here he is. And these are some of the dishes that are waiting to go out to the other tables. Here's the restaurant. And on the other side of the street, well, this is another story for some other time. So here's a time lapse of leaving Changling and going back to her parents' house. They live about 12 miles north. And Changling County has about 640,000 people. And they're all in that area. And between her home and Changling, there are several little villages. So you can see we passed one. And then another one's coming up here somewhere, right there. And then there's another little village here. And another one here. Actually, that one we just passed is where we got married. Then there's a long road, and then finally we're approaching Lynn's village. So her parents live right here, this house. So Julian has his little celebration clothes on here. And I think this is the next day. This is when a lot of relatives came. So this boy is Lynn's cousin's kid, and I have some pictures of him from a few years ago when he was a little baby taking a bath. I'll show that some other time. So it's summertime and it's time to enjoy some ice treats. Meanwhile, Julian got lots of attention from all the relatives. And they also looked at their phones. And they shared their pictures, and they gathered around. And then we had a big dinner at the wedding hall where we got married 6 years prior to this. So this is Jason at the table with all the dishes there. And then we went back home, and the relatives pretty much left after that. And Jason was alone again. And then I took some pictures of the night here. This is our last night here. I got a nice polar rotation. And Grandpa had to say goodbye to the kids. And then we rode on the bus back to Dalian. That was probably one of my worst bus rides ever, but I'm gonna not spoil the video by talking about that.